Reading and understanding dog food labels or the material on Dog Food Maker's website can be confusing. In fact, the information may be misleading. What are a few helpful tips you can give to pet owners?
Okay, the first is the first ingredient myth. It is an absolute myth that if the first ingredient is a meat, that is the largest ingredient in the ingredient list. The ingredient list is listed by the weight of the contents. What AAFCO allows manufacturers is to include the water weight of the pre-cooked meat. Therefore, when they put a meat first, it includes 70 to 75% water, which means that it is not the largest ingredient in the dog food. And if you want to know which protein is actually the most, would be the next protein. And so those typically are meals. And so it's not uncommon to see a product like duck, and it will be the first ingredient. And then the second ingredient will be poultry meal. And actually that's a poultry meal diet and not a duck diet. So that's a complete myth about the first ingredient. The other thing is the words they use on labels are totally misleading because they don't have any legal meaning. Holistic, premium, wholesome have absolutely no legal meaning. So those foods don't have to meet any criteria that is different from brands that don't use those foods. Natural and organic, although they do have legal meanings, are somewhat tenuous. Let me give you an example. Natural can be anything, an animal, plant, vegetable, mineral, anything from the earth or the air, or the water to be natural. And as long as AAFCO defines it, it's natural as long as it isn't processed by synthetic method or contains synthetic products. But they have a caveat that if they put a disclaimer that synthetics were added, they can still call it natural. Feeding instructions are my big bugaboo because people don't realize how detailed they are. In other words, the feeding instructions are always for ideal weight, not present weight. So if a person has a 25-pound obese dog and they're feeding based on 25 pounds on the label, they're overfeeding their dog consistently. The other thing is that the feeding instructions, especially for dry food, are instructions for an 8-ounce cup. And in America, we use cup interchangeably. You use a cooking cup, and then we have our word cup. And I've had clients come in and tell me that they only feed a cup, and what they meant was a big gulp cup. And so the meaning of cup has been distorted. It is an 8-ounce measuring cup. The other thing that people don't know is the instructions are for the daily requirement. It's not a meal allotment. It is what the animal needs for the entire day, not each meal. And then the other thing I would say is weight reduction labels. Weight reduction labels, if they say has more calories less than, all they have to prove is that this particular weight loss or weight control food has less calories than the specific thing they're comparing it to. The other one is this notion of breed specificity food, and it is a total marketing ploy, unfortunately, because if you look, and I have looked at these companies that have breed specific, and you look at the first 11 ingredients, you'll find that they're almost virtually the same for every animal. So there's really nothing different about the ingredient mix. Now, what they will do oftentimes is put in certain additives that are specific for medical problems common to that breed. But here's the problem. They typically put it in amounts that are far too short of having any medical relief, giving any medical relief, number one. And number two, it gives the idea that feeding this food is going to prevent the medical conditions in the breed, and that's simply not true. And then the last is, I would tell you, you can't compare the guaranteed analysis for wet and dry food or semi-moist and dry food directly because the water content. So you can't see a can that says 7% protein and say, well, it has less protein than this bag of dog food, which has 21, which in fact, if you do the math, the canned dog food is actually about 40% protein after you subtract out the water. So people have that mistaken idea as well.